The G7 and the EU may use frozen Russian assets as collateral for debt to help Ukraine. This is over $250 billion from the blocked funds of the Russian central bank.
Under the proposal, Ukraine's allies could sell debt to contribute to the war-torn country's rebuilding using the frozen assets as collateral. Proponents believe that any settlement to the conflict under international law would find Russia liable to pay for the damage it has caused its neighbor. Should Russia refuse, claims could be made on the frozen assets. From the publication in Bloomberg.
Both the US and the EU and the G7 are convinced that frozen Russian assets should be the source of funding for Ukraine's reconstruction. However, the vision of how exactly to use these funds differs among Ukraine's partners. Direct seizure of the assets and handing them over to Ukraine, confiscation and disbursement of the money to Kyiv, using the interest and other income from the assets in Ukraine's favor. All of these options are being discussed in the West. The plan to use frozen Russian funds as collateral for debt repayment, according to G7 officials, would allow the money to be transferred to Ukraine without having to resolve complex legal issues about the legitimacy of the confiscation.
We are dealing with a very specific financial asset when we don't see it, but it exists in the form of liabilities. In the global financial practice, this is used quite often when securities are issued against certain liabilities, which can be traded at a certain discount. But nevertheless, these liabilities already have a certain security. I think this is a very promising area for the global financial community.
Prior to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the central bank withdrew up to $350 billion from the federation into correspondent accounts. But even their complete withdrawal and transfer to Ukraine's needs will not cover the damage caused by Russian aggression.
However, we are not talking about the figures of 300 to 350 billion of their gold and currency reserves. We are talking about an estimated $750 billion. Direct damage added with indirect damage that could raise that figure over $1 trillion. And this is just 300 to 350 billion of their frozen assets. At least half of that would still need to be additionally covered by them. This is where we are talking about the contribution, the compensation that Russia will pay over a long period of time. Oleg Ustenko, advisor to the President of Ukraine on economic issues, on the air of the Ukrainian National Telethon.
The foreign ministry said agreeing a final decision on the use of frozen Russian assets has its own difficulties, so it will be taken in parts. Kyiv expects it to happen before the end of 2024. Reported by Valeria Nikipelova, Halina Babenko, UATV News.